Hello. So if you are popping on and you're not watching this live, definitely take a few minutes and commit to watching it. I promise if you're wanting to know anything about the Rise conference or why I have not been like super active on YouTube, I'm answering it all here. Yeah. So if you're here, can you say hi for me so I can see who all is here? And yeah, know who I'm talking to. Hey, Angela, what is up? So I definitely see that there's like several people popping in. So just say your name, say where you're from when you get here. I'm so pumped to chat. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to pop in. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is kind of why I've taken a hiatus from YouTube for the last month. Oh, hey, Rachel. I'm so glad you found me today. That's awesome. So for the last month, I've not been super active here, but you'll understand. Lisa, all the peoples, yay, awesome. Okay, so hello, Amber, Danielle, Rachel, Lauren, hello. Okay, Rachel from Colorado, Stephanie, Lauren, Washington State, Lisa. Oh, on vacay in Mexico. All right, now listen. I wish I could turn my camera around now. It is snowing. Like, snowing. I wish I could kick that guy off my broadcast. Go away. I can't. I mean, I think I can if I go to YouTube, but it's like I'm on a different, like, little platformy thing. Okay, so if it gets too bad, I'll kick him off. It's fine. All right. So somebody's asking about my glasses. They are from Amazon. They are blue light blocking glasses. They're not even prescription. I definitely need prescription glasses. I wear contacts though. And so I use these as blue light blocking glasses, and my eyes have just been very tired, and you could tell that they've been like a little stressed lately. And so I wanted to make sure I was like trying to take care of them in the best way possible, you know? So, okay. Oh my Lord. I wish I could kick that guy off. I'm sorry. Can I kick him off from here? No. Okay. We're just going to go with the spam comments. All right. Yes, where the video's been. That's right. All right. So that's what I'm going to talk about first, is why I have not had a video in today would be 4 weeks, I think. I think that's close. And here was the real reason. And then that it's going to lead really well into my expectation and whatever of what I had of Rise business. So essentially, I got to the point where I was like, I am so tired. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know this. And if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely go follow me on Instagram. But I got to the point where I was just like really tired of feeling like I was contributing to what this industry, as far as like business industry, is doing. And it's just, let me explain more. So I just got off, thank you so much, Rachel. I'm on like a third party platform and I couldn't like hit a button. I tried to go on YouTube. It wasn't working. So, essentially I just got off of a training that I co-hosted with a client of mine and in her like Facebook group. And everybody in that thing, I was teaching about funnels, and everybody in it was like, but what software do I use, and what this and what that? And it's just a really good example because it literally just happened. But it bothers me that I'm contributing to this world of I don't have the right tools at my disposal to do the thing. And I kind of had to take a step back for a few minutes. So if you are not listening to my podcast, Grit, so Holly just mentioned that she's loving Grit. Thank you so much. So it's called Grit, Grit, and it's much more heavy personal development mixed with business development. So on the episode that went live yesterday, I talked about one of my strategies when I feel overwhelmed or when I feel like I just don't know the next step, or I feel like I was feeling this time where I felt like I was just contributing to people getting confused and not actually doing things, because I'm not a fan of that. Like I want to give advice from the mindset and the framework that because I'm giving you this advice, now you have the tools to go forward. And I've just felt like a lot of times that wasn't what was happening or whatever. But the podcast episode that I released yesterday was called Be Quiet or Get Quiet, something like that. And essentially it was all about what I do when I'm feeling that way, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, or when I'm feeling like I don't know what's next, or like I feel frustrated with social media, or like I feel frustrated with my business. I tend to get quiet. Thank you, Letitia. So I normally am batched out far enough to where even if I get quiet, you don't notice it, right? Like normally I have enough videos in the lineup to where even if I take a month and I'm like, I'm going to get quiet for, a month, you don't even notice it because all the videos are already there. But what happened this time was it coincided with the end of my batch, and I wasn't inspired enough or like clear enough about what was next to film another set of videos. So I was like, you know what? It's fine. It is totally fine. Like I am not going to, my husband's worried I have the gas logs on. Like, no, I already turned them off a long time ago. Anyway, so I was not going to batch record a bunch of videos that I wasn't even sure were what I would want to put out into the world once I was kind of done thinking about where I needed to go, right? So if you have missed my videos, don't worry. There's going to be a new one up next week. This one is here for today, for this week. But there will be more coming. I promise. I'm actually batching, as long as my kids go to school, I'm batching tomorrow and Thursday. So don't worry about that, but that's kind of where I've been. Nothing crazy. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, please come follow me over there. It is definitely like I'm always there. It's almost like a therapy thing for me over there. Like I love to show up on Instagram, and it's one of my favorite things. And so even when I get quieter on other platforms, I tend to still be over there. Totally. We all need breaks sometimes. I mean, it's a thing and it's fun. And like I said, I'm normally batched out to where you wouldn't even notice I took a break, but that wasn't the case this time. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely go do that because I'm giving away an iPad. So I'm giving away an iPad and an Apple Pencil and an iTunes gift card. So definitely go check that out and follow me there to win that, which I'm really excited about. Okay, so I just got back from Rise Business Conference. And if you don't know what that is, it is Rachel Hollis's business conference. Here's the thing. She invokes a lot of emotions in a lot of people. And I'm not sure I've ever really seen someone be so polarizing in the way that she is. Like, I've seen people who are polarizing because they intentionally are polarizing, right? They are like, I'm going to just like be what I am. And I know that like this part of the world is not going to like me because I like this thing. But she literally like, she attracts and repels people just by being herself. And that's just super interesting to me. But I'll just tell you kind of my story of why I went to Rise Business and then what I got out of it, because why I went and what I got out are two totally different things. So essentially, I did not read Rachel Hollis's first book, Girl Wash Your Face, for a very long time after it was released because I don't like to be told what to do. It's part of my personality. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. And Girl Wash Your Face felt very much so like somebody was telling me what to do. So I hesitated. I wasn't going to read it. And then I was going on a trip and I had kind of a long drive. If you don't know this, I live really far from an airport. So anytime I travel, it's like additional 3 hours there and back that I have to drive or ride. So a lot of times I can finish a whole like long book in like one quick trip. So it actually works out really well for me. But I was going on a drive to the airport and then a quick trip to Florida, I believe. It was late last year. And then, was going to have to drive back. And I'd heard so much buzz about it. I read it, or I listened to it, and I loved it. And then Still didn't, and then I read her next book, which came out, but still was not like a massive super fan of hers. So I want you to know that like this is not coming from a place of like, oh my gosh, she's the best person in the world. Because when I get done telling you how I felt about it, it might sound like that, and that's not really what it was. I really like her. I enjoy her style. I think we have very similar styles, and I think that's why I enjoy her style. So anyway, went, and the main reason I went was to see how this conference was different than other business conferences. So Lisa said, I read her books and loved them, but didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I was kind of the same way. Actually, I'm currently hosting a free challenge, which you can't sign up for anymore if you are not in it, called 100 to Best You, that I was originally going to call Last 100 Days, until someone was like, thankfully, was like, Rachel Hollis says the last 90-day challenge. I was like, what? Well, I can't do that. So, yeah, I'm like not enough in her ecosystem to where I am aware of things like that, right? And it's obviously something she does all the time because she was talking about it a lot at the conference. So anyway, I went to see how she does this conference, or how she would do this conference differently than other business conferences. I've been at and spoken at hundreds of conferences if you put them all together, from video focused conferences to very just generic business focused conferences to social media conferences to women's business conferences. And I've been to all of these things, and I wanted to see how she would do it differently. And that is like the main reason I went to the conference. Also, though, I will say it landed at a very, very good time because, again, going back to what I said in the beginning, I've just felt very weird about what my space, well, hello, thanks for popping on, what my space in the world is and how I'm contributing to... Swear. I think my brain is mush today. I don't know. I think it's still mush. So Stephanie, thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, it feels weird to kind of say like, oh, I act like this person, but it really is very similar. But I was feeling so weird into like where I wanted to go. And I had started in the beginning of this year, really leaning into the personal development space mixed with the business strategy. Cause I still I think that 90% of business owners don't need more strategy. They need more work on themselves. And so that's when I started doing that. I was like, okay, that's where Grit Podcast came from. That's what that is. And then on the YouTube channel, yeah, totally, Holly. Yeah. And I think everybody is in different camps here, and that's fine. So on the YouTube channel, I'm still sticking to tutorial-based content, right? And so because of that, I've just, I was just in a space where I was like, I don't really know what kind of content I should be putting out into the world. I don't know what I should be doing. I want to write a book. What should I write it about? I was in all of these weird spaces where I kind of knew what I was going to do, but a lot of things didn't land, all these ideas are flying in my head and a lot of things were not landing. So I was in that headspace going into Rise Business 2. So I went in mainly to see how she does it differently because I'm a person of research and I want to host events one day. And I'm like, okay, how is she doing this differently? What am I going to like? What am I not going to like from this? What can I learn? That kind of thing. Here were my expectations going in. I fully expected for the information that was to be given to be very beginner level. Fully expected it. So a couple months ago, maybe longer than that, I signed up for her coaching just to kind of see what it was. Her online business coaching. And it was the month I signed up for was something, that was kind of basic. And I don't even remember, I think it was email marketing or something, but I was like, okay, this is probably not where I need to be focusing. But I also really respect how smart she is. So even not being a fangirl and not being someone who's really in that ecosystem, you can dislike the lack of good coffee at Rise. That's funny, Ashley. I don't drink coffee, so I don't know. But I disliked how I had to walk up the stairs to go pee every 2 minutes. But So not being in her ecosystem, not being a super big fangirl of hers, that I know she's smart. She hasn't built this business without being like smart, right? And so I'm like, okay, that's why I signed up for the coaching. And then when I saw the coaching was more beginner level, which makes sense with her audience, right? I ducked out of that. So going into the conference, I fully expected that the content would be very beginner level. Something I have to say that was my main takeaway from this conference and what she did and what I got out of it. She thinks at a completely different level than anybody I've ever heard speak at a business conference before. Completely different level. Hello, Rachel. You're so funny. Welcome. So she speaks at a completely different level. And that was she thinks at a completely different level. I'm sorry. Not even speaks, thinks at. So that was my biggest takeaway from the conference, honestly. And it seems like a simple one, but it's not when I really think about it. And it wasn't even something somebody said. It was the way they were saying things and all the speakers and all the things was that there's a next level of the next level. You know what I mean? So there is, how you're thinking right now about your business, right? Like how you're like, okay, whatever that income goal is, right? Like, so let's say I made $10,000 last year. And so now I'm like, okay, I want to make 30. And then let's say you made 50 last year and you want to make 100. And then, I'm sorry. I was talking about Rachel Hollis. So I just went to her Rise Business Conference. So that's who I'm talking about specifically here. So we tend to kind of see the biggest thing that I can put in my own words from this. And again, not something somebody totally said. It was just like a epiphany that I had smack me in my face while I was there. We are putting ceilings on ourselves based on our industry or the people who we see a level above us. So for instance, if I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, well, my goal is to grow this much because that's what I see X person doing, right? Like I see this person growing that much and I see them doing this kind of big thing in the world and blah, blah, blah. Rachel Hollis and the people on that stage were not comparing themselves to the next level up as they were building their business. They were comparing themselves to the friggin' moon. That was really what I got out of the conference. The biggest thing I got was she and the other speakers, but she specifically, because it was her conference, thinks at a completely higher level than anyone else in the online marketing industry. And I know she's not technically in the online marketing industry, and that's probably why she comes from a different spot. But so every other conference I've ever been to, so let me back up a little. Every other conference I've ever been to in the online business world or business world in general is the conference with, maybe a couple of keynotes, like a keynote in the morning, a keynote at lunch, a keynote in the afternoon. And then there's breakout sessions, and you have to choose what breakout sessions you go to. And all of those breakout sessions are very strategic. And what happens, even as a speaker, I know this, when you go to a breakout session and somebody comes to my breakout session, I know what's going to happen when they leave. They've got 42 different breakout sessions they went to, and it's all technical, tactical strategy they have to implement, and there's no physical possible way they can do it all. So that has been a frustration for me with business conferences in general for a while, and her conference was just, that wasn't the case. It was very much so all from the keynote stage, and it was basically all keynotes. There weren't really a lot of strategic strategy sessions, although there were some. It's hard to explain if you weren't there, but they were kind of mixed in with the keynote material. And it was amazing because we didn't come out with 10,000 new systems or tools or strategies to implement. It was more of okay, I need to think on a higher level, and what does that look like in my business? Even though she gave systems and tools, I didn't need a lot of that piece of it. I more so needed that how I needed to position my business better. So all of the speakers, if you're not familiar, hey, Aaron, if you're not familiar with Rise Business or didn't see it being advertised or anything, all of the speakers were, well, not all, like 80% of the speakers on the stage are motivational speakers by trade, right? Yes, they have other businesses, but they're all like motivational speakers by trade. Brendan Burchard, Ed Milet, Trent Shelton, so many. I mean, I can't list them all. They were all so good. They were all so good. So you wouldn't think that hearing a bunch of motivational speakers, or at least I wouldn't think, that hearing a bunch of motivational speakers would lend itself well to not getting boring. You would think that like eventually you're just hearing the same message over and over and it will get boring. But it wasn't at all. Yay, Aaron, I'm so glad. Somebody else on here said they just found me today. That's awesome. So you would think that hearing a bunch of motivational speakers would get really boring, and it did not at all. It was very much so everybody had their different take on a different thing, and they had a different overarching theme, and everything was great. And I fully believe that because it was positioned in the way it was as like motivational, inspirational, higher level thinking, with some strategy mixed in, that regardless of what stage you are at or were at in your business, that going into this conference, every single person got really massive takeaways. Like, I don't doubt that at all. I don't feel like I have a small business. I feel like I have a pretty substantial business, and there were other people there who have pretty substantial businesses, and I've talked to them and they're like, yeah, I had like massive breakthroughs, and I'm like, no, me too. So I felt like it was a really, really good spot for that, and it was really cool to kind of see how they made it all work. Hands down, I think it was hands down, it was the best business conference I've ever been to, which is really interesting because I didn't expect that. I went into it not expecting that at all. I totally went into it thinking it would be very beginner level. I knew she would bring the high energy. Again, we're very similar people. I knew she would bring that, but I didn't know it was going to be at the level that it was. So yeah, I love that there were, I wrote down some bullet points so I wouldn't forget what I was going to say. I love that like it was all from one stage. Obviously, that has its downfalls. I was sitting at the floor level, and I have to pee all the time. Like literally every other second of every other day I pee. And so sitting at the floor level, it was the way the place was set up. You had to walk up the stairs to pee. And so I didn't love that like there wasn't a better accessible bathroom. But that's a venue problem, not a conference problem, right? And then you do get really like, you don't get to get up a lot, when you're sitting there for hours and hours and hours on end listening to speakers. But I didn't want to, which again, let me go there. If I listed out the conferences I've been to in the last 2 years, because probably before that I was a little different than this, but in the last 2 years for sure, if I listed out all the conferences I've been to, whether I've been speaking at them or whether I've been just hanging out at them, and I said, did you go to at least 50% of the sessions? I would guarantee that there would be none of the conferences I've been to in the last 2 years where I've at least been to half the sessions, because I take them as networking opportunities. I take them as, ways to really, get content done or whatever I want to do there. But I generally don't attend sessions because they do generally sit at that like beginner level, and they're kind of all the same, right? It's like, there's only so many times you can learn about an email list. There's only so many times you can learn about YouTube and marketing and like whatever. And so I am not one to go to the sessions at conferences. I'm just not. And I didn't want to miss a single session in this one. I did miss half of someone's talk because it took us forever to get back from lunch. And then I did leave in the middle of someone's talk because I needed to go get lunch. So Other than that though, that was it. I mean, it was seriously awesome. So do you guys have any questions for me, either on my hiatus from YouTube or on my experience at Rise? So hello, Kelsey from Wisconsin. So if you weren't here in the beginning, I was basically talking about how it's been about a month since I've published a video on YouTube. Obviously this one is here, so there's that. But don't worry, new videos coming next week. And I basically was just feeling very burnt out is probably not the word. Hey, Josh. Burnt out is probably not the word for what I was feeling. It was more of like, I just am tired of contributing to the noise. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I feel that way. I really didn't want to be another person from like that was telling you how to do something over and over and over again and making you feel like that was the only way to grow a business or the only way to live a good life or the only way to do the things. And I got some massive clarity around that I would gladly tell you if I knew how to articulate it. I really don't. Like, I'm still like writing down and like figuring things out, but I promise you'll see it kind of come around. So Rochelle, what's your best takeaway from the conference? That would be, I mean, honestly, there's so many, but my biggest takeaway personally was that I needed to up-level my up-level. So I felt like I was already up-leveling. It's like, okay, I see this person and this person and this person and this person as like a level above me, right? Like I would see these people as like a level above me. And the main like thing that I kept coming back to in this conference was like, no, like I can go more. I can go bigger. I have the motivation. I have the skills. I have the stuff to go bigger and better. No, channel won't be pivoting. You have seen my channel morphing since the beginning of the year. So basically like, so I'm looking at my channel right now. 8 months ago, I did how to be more productive, 5 productivity hacks. And then I've done a lot of videos on like how to wake up earlier and how to do things that make your life better. It's going to lean heavier towards the stuff that the podcast leans towards, which is Grit is the name of my podcast if you're not familiar, and very much so more tips on how to like up level, how to be a better human so you can run a better business, and with the business strategy mixed in. So nothing different than what has been there in the last year for sure. But like if you compare it to 2 years ago when all I was doing is YouTube strategy and email marketing strategies and stuff like that, then yeah, it definitely has changed. But yeah, like you won't see really anything change, especially if you're following me on Instagram and Grit, my podcast, it's just going to take on the same content. Like it's not the same content, different content, just delivered in a different way. So Amber and Rochelle both said, what are my new goals? I'm not ready to share them because I'm not totally sure yet. It's not because I'm being like weird. I have wanted to brain dump, and this is the honest truth. I have wanted to brain dump to my team since I've been back. I have all these like things swimming in my head, and I'll be honest. I mean, a couple of things I have swimming in my head were from speakers, like directly from speakers. Like, for instance, they talked about finance during one of the session or segments of the conference, and I realized I needed to be a lot better about that. And so there's things like that were like direct results because someone was like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But there were things that were just like over encompassing messaging that I couldn't say, like one speaker said this thing that made me think that. So it's been really hard for me to kind of put it on paper in a way that's going to make sense to somebody else because it was really like that feeling I got while I was there. I will say, and I'm going to read the rest of y'all's comments in a second. I will say for sure that I am not an outwardly emotional person. I am an emotional person to ask my husband. But like I'm not normally one to like sit in public and cry or like cry on a video or do those type of things just because that's not my personality. Even though I feel the emotions, I generally don't like the tears don't come out. They'll just like well up in my eyes or whatever. I cried so friggin' much at this conference. And I think a lot of it was because I was in such a weird place and it was really helping me break through this. And I was able to kind of have that breakthrough. There were at least 5 or 6 times when I was just sitting there and like, again, not really a speaker specifically saying one specific thing. It was more the atmosphere and the feelings I was getting and the thoughts I was having that then I was taking from the, so hard to articulate. But there were several times, thank you guys for talking back and forth to each other. I'm going to get to that in a second. There were several times during this that I literally like lost my breath because I realized things like, and it like the fact that I wasn't up-leveling enough, the fact that I wasn't thinking big enough, or the fact that whatever, or I would have revelations where I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's it. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that a couple months ago, I talked about how I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to write a book. I'm a book junkie. I'm a personal development book junkie. I'm a business development book junkie. I'm going to write a book. But I've been very stuck on what my take on a book would be, on really what I want to talk about that hasn't already been done. I'm not going to pitch a book that's already been done. And literally in the middle of one of the sessions, and not even, who knows if it was because of something they said, but I just like, it literally took my breath away that I was like, oh, that's it. And I mean, I like started crying and like wrote it down really fast as much as I could think. And I'm not going to tell you yet. I promise I will when I start like pitching it. I've got to pitch it to book agents and like pitch it to publishing houses and all the things. But it was just an overall like feeling, and it was amazing. And honestly, I kind of wanted to come back and say it wasn't any good, mainly because I want to host an event one day. And I want to do things, but like I just expected it to be beginner level, and I expected it to be, not as good as I thought it might be in my head. I just had low expectations, and so I fully expected to come back and do like a deep dive on what I learned and like all the things as far as strategy goes, and that's not at all what happened. And then yeah, I wanted to come back and tell you it wasn't good, but it was amazing. I mean, it really was. Okay, I'm going to scroll up to these comments. So it was so nice to meet you at Vid Summit too. Somebody asked about my glasses. They are blue light blocking glasses from Amazon. If you go to my Amazon store, which is just jessicastansberry.com/shop, they are listed somewhere in that store. I think it's in like office stuff. Oh, Ashley said mine was to become obsessed with my market and figure out how to serve them better. Yes. I mean, so much of that, like being like my customer service could totally be better. And I feel like I do a good job right now of knowing what my people want and shifting and changing with what they want. But at the same time, like knowing what that looks like instead of limiting myself to my industry's norms. So for instance, that's something I can tell you guys totally, and I just thought of it to like the best way to articulate it. So if I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to serve my people best, right? My industry's norms are a course, a Facebook group, YouTube channels, group programs, one-on-one coaching, like a high-level course, like things like that. And it's like, what? Like, I don't have to stick to those. I can go above and beyond that, right? So that was like a huge thing. Lauren asked if there were 2 different Rise events. Yes, I've never been to the women's conference one, but I know Carrie answered your question a second ago. But there are 2. Lauren, do you see yourself collabing more on your podcast and YouTube in the future? For sure. I am being very picky with who I collaborate with, though. It's actually really funny that you ask that. About 2 hours ago, I had a chunk in my day where I was in between calls. So Tuesdays for me are normally like all day on the phone. And this Tuesday has definitely been that. But I had a little chunk that was like 30 minutes long, and I needed to go through all the different things that my assistant had for me that I needed to like check off. And most of what those are emails that have come to us asking for collaboration or asking for sponsorship deals or like whatever that I need to approve or deny. And I denied 90% of them because I've been doing this. If I accepted everybody who asked me to, like, if they could sponsor a YouTube video or collaborate with me, I would just have a channel full of, a channel and podcast and accounts everywhere, brand full of people just collaborating with each other all the time. And that's what I want for sure. But like, there needs to be a method to the madness. And I'm not here for like selling you FabFitFun boxes. Not happening. So yes, I will be collaborating more on YouTube and my podcast in the future, but I'm being very picky and making sure that I get the guests who are going to bring fire. Because I'm just kind of tired of that thing where you have to kind of just like play smaller. I don't know. It's really interesting. I find sometimes talking it out helps me. So Amber, thank you so much. I'm an external processor. So I expected that on my drive home that I was going to just like talk it out, like to myself the whole time, voice record. Cause that's, by the way, like that's a tip for you guys. If you're an external processor, I will drive and turn on the voice recorder on my phone and just talk. I will take a walk and turn on the voice recorder and just talk. To kind of process my ideas or my thoughts, because that's what type of processor I am. But I was so tired, and so like my brain just couldn't really wrap itself around it yet, that I needed to just not. So I didn't. And I have since been doing that, Amber. So the last couple of days I've been really doing it. Lauren said, are you changing your Instagram strategy at all with them taking away likes on feed posts? Nope. I think it's the best thing they've ever done. Now, I don't think it's going to help much of anything. So the reason they're taking away likes on Instagram, for those of you who do that, or who are aware of that or have that question, is because it's a comparison game, right? Like, oh, that person got 1,000 likes and I only got 100, or, you know, whatever. And Instagram/Facebook, they want to try and alleviate that as much as they can, but there's only so much they can do, because there's still going to be follower counts. There's still going to be, like all the things that you can look at and compare yourself to. And unfortunately, the way the world is, you have to have numbers to prove legitimacy. And it is what it is right now. And I don't say that to be like, oh, you need to have a big audience to build a good business. I don't think that. But like certain industries, you need like followings to prove that you are like worth it. So for instance, again, doing research on how to pitch a book idea and all this stuff. And all of the agents that I've looked at, my kids are fighting upstairs. It is snowing today, so they're home from school, although they would be home by now anyway, but still. So all of the research that I've been doing on like how to find an agent and all this stuff, they all want to know your numbers. I mean, it's just part of the world. So I don't think it's going to change anything. Honestly, I just think you're just not going to see likes, but you're still going to see comment numbers. You're still going to see that certain posts are in the top 9 of hashtags. The algorithm's not changing. The way they pull those things and put them where they should be, that's not changing. So, yeah. I was going to see if they were like killing each other, or if there's like laughing. I'm not sure. Okay, so Our House. Hi, Jessica. I've been following you since your OBS tutorial last year. Awesome. That is an old tutorial. Thank you so much. So Erin said this is off topic, but I'm so curious on how you differentiate content that you share on YouTube, your podcast, and your IG. Okay, so the YouTube content is very search friendly and will always be. Some of the bigger YouTube teachers are going to tell you don't need to focus on search content. If you're looking to grow a YouTube channel, I highly disagree. It's the way I've grown my channel. Being shown at the top of how to do something that a lot of people are searching for is 90% of the reason that a lot of you are here, right? So like how to use OBS, how to use Trello, how to use digital planners, how to is how people are finding me. And I treat my YouTube channel as the top of my funnel. So people are finding me on YouTube and then they're going to my other places. So they're finding me on YouTube and then they're going onto my email list or my website or Instagram or straight to a sales page or whatever that will then cause them to be in my ecosystem, right? So that's the way I look at it. I'm just making sure that my kids are not killing each other. I think they're okay. That's the way I differentiate my content is it all serves the same purpose. So I have an overarching purpose of my business, and that is not changing, even with like me thinking through. Honestly, you guys will not see anything change. I say that I was in a weird headspace because I was. I'm out of it now. I have clarity, but you're not really going to see any difference. The overarching mission of my business is the same, and that is to help people live a life that they love. So I don't know about you guys, but I grew up thinking that I had to get a corporate job and work in a 9-to-5 that I hated because that's what everybody around these parts did. That's what we did. And that's how it worked. And that's what you did as an adult. You went to college and you got a job and you worked a 9-to-5 and hopefully you liked it good enough. But for the most part, nobody I knew liked their jobs. And I believe fully that if it's right for you, because I don't think that everybody is built for entrepreneurship, but I believe fully that entrepreneurship is like the way out of that for a lot of people. But in addition to that, you've got to also love that because you can end up hating that too. And so basically my whole mission in my business is to give you tools that will help you create a life you love. Whether that's by owning your own business, whether that is by being more intentional, whatever that looks like. And so that's not changing. So as long as it fits under that umbrella, on YouTube it's how-to content. On the podcast, it's deeper level. So it's much deeper. It's much more, high-end, high level, and more of building that relationship between myself and the listeners. It's like, this is where we really, like, if we were sitting in a room together, what we would talk about, rather than like what you were Googling and needing a 5-minute video to find. Does that make sense? And then Instagram is just, I do everything through the lens of wanting to help people. So sometimes I posted the other day about anxiety and how I had anxiety for a while. But then I've posted on there about like business. And so, it's just really all under that lens of wanting to help people live a life they love, not be miserable is kind of my goal there. Hold on. I'm scrolling up. You guys talked a lot while I was saying that. Hold on. Okay. So, someone said they were not a fan of taking away likes. It's everywhere. Someone is doing better. Always doing better, just trying to stay focused regardless. That same person said, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Flux Imagery. I just don't see a name. Do you share how to go live on YouTube? I'm running into issues with installing OBS. So I am live right now on a software called Ecamm. If you have a Mac, I highly recommend it. It's called Ecamm Live, Ecamm Live. And I highly recommend it. You can go live on Facebook with it, on Instagram. I don't think you can go live on Instagram. That was weird. Freudian slip. On YouTube, you can even just screen record and do that from here. But it is Mac only. But there are a ton of softwares to do it. OBS is not what I use anymore. It was for a little while because it was the best one out there. And now I feel like there's some that are a lot, not only better, and I don't know that better is the right word, but they're a lot easier to use, which I'm here for. So someone said, yep, pretty sure I found you on iMovie. Lauren, yes, girl. I know. This is what I'm saying. You find me because you're searching the internets for the things you don't know how to do. And then there I am. And now you like me. And now we do things together on Instagram or wherever. Or whatever. So Stephanie said, will joining the inner circle be beneficial for me if I haven't started a business yet? I do believe so. But obviously, like, I'm not going to talk you into something that you're not sure would be a good business choice for you. The tutorials, first of all, you get to keep all of the old ones now. We changed that You get to get all the old ones. So when you join, you are you have an arsenal of trainings at your disposal already, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you need. I don't ever recommend starting and just watching them. I fully believe in taking trainings when you need the training, because that's when you're going to get the most out of it. But also the training in there is business focused for sure, but it's also, I mix a lot of the personal development pieces with it too. So, for instance, I've definitely done some tutorials on how to find the one thing you need to focus on in business. So that might be really useful for you. It was one of the first trainings we did in there. And then like this month, the training is on how to focus, like figure out where you should be focusing. And I'm so pumped about it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to teach this, but I wanted to teach it in the right way. But how to focus, how to find what to focus on, and then how to batch your time so those goals actually get accomplished. Because I'm not a fan of making goals you can't do. So hopefully that helps. Ashley, do you create different lens statements for each platform that aligns with your overall lens? So for those of you that don't know about my lens statement, Ashley, thank you for asking that. So if you go to jessicastansberry.com/lens, LENS, it will give you like a free little Mad Libs situation to help you figure out your lens statement. But essentially what a lens statement is the reason I call it a lens statement is it's basically a mission statement. So mine is to help people live a life they love, but I have an expanded version. That's my lens statement. That like, if you were using that as a microscope, if that was the lens on the microscope, it's what you would look through to make sure all the content you create is actually doing that. So, if you're on Instagram or if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube or whatever, that all the content you're putting out is actually accomplishing that thing. So Ashley, I don't necessarily create different ones. They're all overarching with my business as a whole. I mean, there's one that overarches with my business as a whole, but I view each platform slightly differently in my own head. So again, YouTube is definitely going to be more how-to videos, and Instagram is going to be more, probably more personal development, honestly. And then Facebook is just, I'm not focusing on Facebook right now, so it's kind of just what happens over there. And then I already said YouTube. The podcast is definitely going to be deeper conversations about the things I'm talking about on YouTube and Instagram already, usually. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, I want to use that. Did you say you want to become obsessed with your audience? Yes. So that was something Rachel actually said multiple times, is to be obsessed with the people that you want to serve and know what they're doing, know what they need. And it's such good information. It's such good advice. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Great stream. Thanks for all the awesome info. Thank you so, so much. So does Ecamm record too? It does, Jamie. So I have actually recorded full-on tutorials on Ecamm, and like just recorded here. You can literally set it to broadcast just to your local device. So Francis, I've followed you for so long, I have no idea where I came across you. That's good too. I like it. Yay. So anybody else have any other questions? Okay. So no, it's okay. Let me type it in. So I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure that's right. So it's jessicastansberry.com/lens, LENS. Now, couple that with, there's a podcast episode on grit. So just search GRIT on any of your favorite podcast players. You can even tell Alexa to play the Grit podcast, and it will play it. The one in my bathroom, which is like 2 rooms over, just heard me. So you can, hopefully some of your Alexas are going to do it too. Anyway, there is a podcast episode on the Grit podcast all about the lens statement, and it will kind of teach you the overarching like goal of it and kind of the innards of the way it works. And then that's a fun like Mad Libs style to get started. It's like a starting point to really create it. Loco said, what is the inner circle? Is it free? Starting a new business and hope it helps. Yes. So it's not free. It is $37 a month. Let me just type that in too. JessicasInnerCircle.com is the name of it. And it basically is monthly business coaching. So strategy, I focus heavy on strategies. I'm not a big fan of like fluffy coaching. but it definitely is like strategic. So we've done everything from email funnels to email list building to Instagram strategy to finding your thing to productivity to like, it's kind of all in that encompassing field of personal and business development, because that's what I love so much. But it's $37 a month, and there's a training every month by me. I'm in the group, so if you tag me, I'm in there to like answer your questions. And then there's Facebook group, and then there's a book club every month that's not necessary. It's kind of a fun add-on that we do or don't do. I always have a book that is in the book club, and some people choose to not participate. Some people love it. It just kind of depends, but not what you're paying for, if you know what I mean. And then there's a co-working hour every month too that one of the members actually gets to host. So that's really cool. So Lauren, will it play on Google Plays? It should. It's supposed to be on there. So it should be Grit. I actually think somebody had to search for my name on it. Maybe. So try and search my name. If you can't find Grit, just search my name. You'll find it then. So yes, Grit equals podcast search. Exactly. Any other questions? I'm so glad you guys came and hung out with me today. I have missed being like live somewhere. I don't think I've been live on a platform in a very long time. I mean, I think I went live on Instagram like a month ago or something, but I'm not sure. Any South Carolina college ball fans? I went to App State. That logo is not supposed to be put in the dishwasher, and it was. And they kicked South Carolina's butt the other day, and it was amazing. Okay, so any other questions? If not, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you again for hanging out with me. If you're not following me on Instagram, definitely come do that. It's just my name, @JessicaStansberry. And I'm giving away an iPad over there too. So definitely come follow me, come hang out with me, but also don't worry, I'm not going anywhere here. Holly has one last question. We'll answer that and then I'll go. Thank you, Francis. So do you only focus on passive income in the inner circle? No, ma'am. So it's basically a focus on everything I teach, because this was my goal. Everything I teach is applicable to every business. And if it is applicable in different ways to each business, I try and kind of break that down. If this is your business, let's do this. If this is your business, let's do that. So it's going to be applicable to everybody. And I try and be very strategic about that. So Amber asked what I'm drinking. I'm actually drinking, you guys know I love my like Arbonne drink add-on things. Hashtag not a sales pitch. I just like it. They have a mind health one that's like supposed to improve focus and all the things. And I need that. So that's what I'm drinking. All right. You guys have an amazing day. Come hang out with me. If you have other questions, pop them in the comments here, which I may or may not see because they sometimes get buried, or come over to Instagram and shoot me a DM. So bye y'all.